Good evening. I'd like to call the Board of Public Works of December 5th to order, and we'll start out with a roll call.
Alderman Tom Grady. Here. Alderman Ted Grady. Here. Alderman Rapella. Here. Alderman Nichols.
Here.
Alderman Eisenach.
Here.
Alderman Sevenick.
Here.
Alderman Hammond.
Here.
Alderman Schmidt. Everyone's here with the exception of Alderman Schmidt.
Okay, thank you. First item of business basically is public comments on any matter listed on this agenda. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Seeing none, then we will move on to the approval of the Board of Public Works minutes. I would entertain a motion from someone, seeing that Ann is not here. Alderman Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to approve the Board of Public Work meeting minutes from November 21st, 2022.
Is there a second? Second made by Alderman Tom Grady. Any corrections or changes? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda is item E1, which is a change order to Northeast Asphalt. And I will let Public Works Director Laura talk on that. Is your mic on? Got it.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So this will close out the remainder of the Northeast Asphalt contract. This is for 7th, 8th Pleasant Lane. All the work is complete and the quantities have been verified. So this change order and payment, items number 1 and 2, will close out that contract. We did come in a little bit higher, and most of that work ended up being in curb and gutter and sidewalk. So there were utilities that ended up needing to be replaced or extended further than anticipated. So there was just some additional curb and gutter that was added to the contract beyond what we had intended. So that's what that overage covered.
And I know that curb and gutter was awful, absolutely awful there, so.
And as we run into it and things break off, what have you, we're gonna fix it when we're there. So we do have it within our budget. We are covered. We ended up, bids came in below, so budgetarily we are still fine.
Alrighty. Is there a motion? Alderman Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to recommend to the Common Council approval of the change order to Northeast Asphalt Incorporated, contract unit number 2022-03 for street construction and rehabilitation at various locations, adding $42,137.66, change order number 2 and final.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Alderman Rapella. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we can take a roll call, hopefully. Oh, yeah.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, thank you. Next item is a payment to Northeast Asphalt. Director?
This would follow with the change order for the previous comment. So unless you have anything else you would like me to add, this would just be the payment to finalize out, final payment to that contract. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman Nichols?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to forward that we recommend to Common Council approval of payment to Northeast Asphalt Incorporated, contract unit number 2022-03, street construction and rehabilitation at various locations in the amount of $99,689.66, payment number 3 and final.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Alderman Rapella. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you for that. Next item, if you hadn't noticed, is because of the amended agenda, we had put this on late on Friday, And this is pertaining to the business that we had in the past with the Doty Island Development Council for the Doty Island neighborhood street signs. Laura, do you want to fill us in and update us and what we need to do this evening?
Certainly. So what is in front of you this evening is, it's been a long process. We've been working with the Doty Island Development Group for a bit of time here to iron out all the kinks and specifics. This was our first application. If you recall, we approved the policy back in April of this year. And so this was our first request. So we're kind of learning it together and working through it together. So we've been going back and forth with proofs, fonts, sizing, material, all those sorts of things, and kind of settled into this design that was brought back to the Doty Island Development Group. Our sign staff actually did assemble a proof. It is in the packet, but we also do have a sign here if any of you are interested in looking at it. But this is what the group did approve, and they would like the Board of Public Works approval on installing 45 total signs for their area. That is one thing we are going to be working on here, is kind of refining that exact number with them, with our staff. But we, per the policy, would be charging them for all of the material, all of our time, installation, basically everything that would be associated with creating and installing these signs would be billed directly to the development group. And if Scott is here as well from the development group, so if you had any questions directly for him, please feel free. I would imagine he would be willing to take any of them. Thanks, Scott. Thank you.
So this evening, what would be our request or recommendation to the Common Council?
We would be looking for an approval to allow the Doty Island Development Group to install signs on the Menasha side on all of the intersections.
Would someone like, Alderman, I don't know who went first, Ted Grady.
Go ahead. Okay, thanks, Randy. I guess, Mike, as Laura did say, that the reimbursement of the costs will be back to the development or whatever, but at this time, does the development even have an idea? Is this going to cost them $10,000, $15,000, $18,000? I mean, just so some weird number isn't thrown out there and all of a sudden, oh, no, and then it comes back to the council and we have to do some other action.
We actually, excuse me, my correspondence to them was on November 28th. We did supply them with an estimate. We did have our sign shop put together, time, material. We actually had to get a quote from TAPCO because that's where we get our material from. So we do have a solid estimate that we have provided them and that they have approved. So they are aware of that dollar amount.
Okay.
Can you give that dollar amount?
Yes, I certainly
I think that's
can.
what he's interested in.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, yes. So it comes to just about $5,000 for 45 signs. It's $76.50 per sign for material, hardware, and printing, and just $35.50 per sign for assembly and install, and we're estimating 3/4 of an hour per sign. And obviously, we would bill for whatever it ends up being. We would track our time.
And if you recall in the past, we said that's what we would do.
Right.
That we weren't going to eat that cost, that
Just
we
wanted
would
to
have
verify.
to,
Yep,
they would have to pay for the installation, so.
And that's following the policy that was approved. That was what we had provided based on what was approved.
What was the installed cost again? I'm sorry.
Do you want a total?
Sure.
It is just shy of 16,000, and we're at just shy of 3,500. Did I say 16,000?
Yes, you
1,600,
did.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
1,600. 1,600 for the install and 3,500 for the material, printing, and hardware.
Okay. Thank you, Director.
Alderman Rapella.
Thank you, Mayor, or Alderman Sevenick. One concern I have is that, going back to my fourth grade field trip 50 years ago, I learned that Doty Cabin is on Doty Island, and Doty Cabin happens to be in Neenah, and the island encompasses Neenah and Menasha. So with putting these signs just on Menasha, aren't we slighting Neenah and saying, Doty Island doesn't exist over there? Is Neenah also putting these signs up on Doty Island?
As far as I understand, the development group is working with Neenah to have the signs put up
Yeah.
on their side.
Yeah, there are some up there. Oh, okay. on
The
Nina's side.
liability of us putting these up on their signs.
No, I didn't think so,
is
but I just
where we're-
wanted this,
So-
I didn't want this to kick in until Nina okays it, and then we okay it
Randy, I have
together.
an answer for you.
Oh, all right, thank you.
Actually, it would have probably been about the same time, but Menasha, our font in that is DOT standards. Apparently, Nina is going to have to replace all their signs on Doty Island regardless because they're not up to regulations by the DOT. So that's been the delay. So because we have done our homework here in the city of Menasha, they're going up quicker. All right. Alderman Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm prepared to make a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
Move to recommend to Common Council to allow installation of neighborhood street signs by Doty Island Development Council.
Motion's been made and seconded by Alderman Tom Grady. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Motion carries 7-0.
Okay, so you know that this was a recommendation to the council, so that'll be on December 19th before we have a final approval. So, all righty, with that, seeing we have no further business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Alderman Nichols, second by Alderman Ted Grady. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, we are adjourned. Thank you.